Hello and welcome to ATARC's DevOps Working Group Demonstration Series. My name is Samir Kamani, and I serve as an Industry Vice Chair for the DevOps Working Group here at ATARC. This is the first of a multi-part series of videos put together to demonstrate the work that has been completed by the ATARC DevOps Working Group. There is still a lot to accomplish, but in the spirit of agile production and getting things into the hands of the people who need it, this is the first iteration. We plan to make this work publicly available for people to inspect and contribute to. With that, let's get into the work that has been completed. To set the stage, I want to describe the stages that were originally defined during the planning phase of the working group. I have described these stages in the repository for quick reference. I also have mapped functionalities that directly address the stages. What we have here is a GitLab project that encompasses the work from a development perspective. In the later part of this series, we will present work that was performed for infrastructure as code construct as well. So stay tuned for those videos that will be coming out shortly. First, I do want to touch on some guiding principles that we took into account. This is the first iteration. It is by no means complete in the larger sense of what needs to be done. We welcome feedback and, more importantly, contributions. As part of being the first iteration, we have kept the construct simple. What we have done to meet the defined stages is to keep the technology footprint to a minimum. The intention is to make it easy for someone to set up and get started with DevOps without encumbering themselves with unconscious cognitive load. That's really the main point here, is we don't want people to have this cognitive load of knitting together multiple technologies, understanding and trying to figure out which one is open source, which one is not open source, which one is available, which one requires a lot of configuration. We've tried to simplify that with the construct that we're developing. That doesn't mean in the future we can't expand to other technologies and other ways of doing things, but that's kind of how we have done. Now, really, it begins with a GitLab repository that we have created, which basically has multiple projects in it. So what you will be able to see is the Java sample app project and a IAC, which is Infrastructure as Code Terraform project, which will be in the subsequent video. And there will be some bunch of information that will be made available in the CICD public project. So let's examine what's in the Java sample app project. So when I get into the Java sample app project, you'll notice that there is the repository, which contains a source folder, which contains all the Java code that we have written. It's a very, very simple app that has been constructed and basically just emits very simple HTML with a welcome to ATARC message in it. That's it. It's really that simple. Why did we make this as simple as that? Because really, we're not trying to prove that we can write good Java code or bad Java code. What we're trying to do is prove out the concept of DevOps. Also in the same repository, we have a test area where we've written a very simple test that basically validates that that output was actually what it was expecting to be there. Once again, not really trying to come up with the best Java application here. We just want things to work and process and show the functionality that is presented within this, this project. The next thing I want to kind of focus on is the fact that I've actually written out the information about the stages over here and the status of their completion. And what this is basically showing all the different stages that I listed out in the slide previously, and where we are in terms of its completion and how we have achieved the specific goal that we set out to go. As you notice, there are a couple that are still yet to be done. And this is where we need some assistance with contributions, some guidance around what can be done, what should be done. Something that I do want to focus on is the POM XML. So we are using a Maven Java application. Very simply, just very simple construct. It uses some Maven components. And down below over here, we've actually incorporated Jacoco Maven plugin for testing visualization. So that is something that you can continue to use if you like it. If you don't, you can just remove that out of the project. The other thing we've done is we've actually tied it to the repository, a Maven repository that comes built into GitLab. So you can actually observe the fact that the artifact got built and then plugged into the Maven repository right within GitLab. So to kind of show you the continuous integration pipeline, I'll go into the details of how this pipeline was constructed, but really at a visualization level, we have a build stage that operates and takes the code from the code repository and builds it. Then we have code quality, secret detection, static analysis, and testing happening all simultaneously. And then last but not least, there's a deploy stage where the Maven component gets created and put into the Maven repository. An additional step that is happening behind the scenes in the build stage is actually the creation of the container containing this entire running application. So that's a side effect of the process that we're using from within GitLab. I'll get into some of the details around that. But really, just so people understand, we are offering multiple ways of developing, building, deploying applications. So you could take the jar that comes out of the Maven deploy process and deploy that into the system that might be the destination system. You could alternately take the container that comes out of the build process and deploy that if you are using a container service or maybe Kubernetes architecture somewhere. For the purposes of ATARC, we are using an AWS account. So some of this can actually get into ECR or ECS or the EKS architecture as well if you wanted to put it there. Now, the interesting thing that's happening here is when this process builds, then the code quality and the secret detection jobs continue, and we have the results that are shown over here. Nothing terribly interesting in this one because there isn't a whole lot of code, but there was a Spring endpoint found, and that has been shown here. So security is baked in here. Code quality also shows that there are some to-dos that are being found. So again, from a quality perspective, what are we able to provide? And then last but not least, we are visualizing the coverage information right up here. So we've created a badge that actually exists at the repository level and shows you the coverage, code coverage level. So once again, there's lots of things going on behind the scenes, and all of this is driven by the CI/YAML file. So with the GitLab CI/YAML file, what we have done is we've taken what is provided out of the box, which is the Auto DevOps template by GitLab, and we have implemented that template. And the template comes pre-built with the stages that we needed. So it was a very apropos match of what we were looking to get. And it actually describes all the different stages over here and what happens. Notice that there is already a template for ECS and EC2 deploy jobs, which don't run in this particular project, but could be run if you had the correct credentials put into this project. The second piece of it is we have actually extended some of the jobs. So for example, the Maven deploy job actually takes it actually deploys the package using the settings XML, which contains the access token inside it. And the other part of it is that there is also a test extension that we've put in here, where it actually takes the Jacoco visualization and then delivers the badge information that I just displayed to you in terms of coverage. So there's a lot of information packed into this file. Please feel free to review it, unpack it, and read about what the templates are and how they're maintained. This is all completely open source and available for you to review. The source files are actually right here, so you can actually go to those particular source files and review how the jobs are actually constructed. The next piece of information that I want to present here is, where did the package go? Notice that I very neatly went down into the package registry in GitLab, and there it is. That's the package that got created and deployed. It is available. There are multiple versions potentially in here, and those are all available to download and use. In my case, I've actually created a jar file. So that's the jar that you can actually take and deploy where you need to deploy. Simultaneously, like I mentioned, the side effect of the build job was a container that came out, and that gets deployed right here. It's in the container registry within GitLab, and there it is. So I can actually take the information that's available over here and use this to pull down the container, publish it where I need to do those kinds of things. There are a lot of other different things that are available here. I'm not going to get into all the details of what GitLab does, because that is not the intent of this video. But this project is publicly available. If you go to gitlab.com/ATARC, you will see the public projects that are available to you, and you can actually review the information. You can fork it, you can clone it, and do what you need to do. Also, it operates under the GitLab flow methodology. So if you want to propose a change, feel free to propose a merge request, and we shall consider it as part of our evolving part of what we're doing. So with that, I invite you to our next video, which will cover the infrastructure as code pieces. But at this point, this is the end of the video. Thank you very much.